You know, I've been wanting to see more Spike-centered episodes that improve upon his character and leave a lasting impression on the fans. I've been rather concerned whenever I hear the MLP writers say that they aren't really sure what to do with Spike in future seasons, given that the show already has 6 main characters taking up the spotlight. But thankfully we got a couple stories that ended up easing my worries during Season 4. Both Inspiration Manifestation and Equestria games were, in my opinion, challenging Spike's character and showing significant growth, while also being entertaining and thought-provoking. I was really looking forward to how else we'd see him improve in Season 5. Unfortunately, Princess Spike really isn't doing much for the little dragon we've been rooting for so long. But do I think this episode has nothing to offer? Certainly not. It's just, well, let's start at the beginning as per usual. Spike is feeling left out, as most every pony doesn't seem to care about his opinion given that the princesses have all the real authority. And that's a fair start, as the concept of not being ready to handle a lot of power is a very relatable issue, and a worthy struggle for Spike to overcome. Given that he's trying to help Twilight from being disturbed while so many ponies are clamoring for her attention, I think it makes for a good setup. Where the episode loses me is when Spike starts exploiting his power in very predictable and cliché ways. Seriously, I don't think there was a single element in this entire episode that I couldn't see coming from a mile away. I will say I enjoy seeing various delegates from all across the land of Equestria, and really some of the best parts of this episode were the interactions between background characters. Both the old, with Fancy Pants having his first speaking role since Season 2, and the new, as this pony from Winneapolis was very enjoyable to watch. However, there are far too many ponies who make it seem like nothing can go right unless Twilight Sparkle is making decisions, which speaks rather poorly of the citizens of Equestria. I also think that every pony forgiving Spike came a little too quickly without enough of a genuine act of trying to fix things on Spike's part. But I think the biggest issue with this episode is the fact that the entire conflict comes from Spike's short-sighted and selfish behavior, which has been a pretty significant staple of his character right from the beginning. Both Silverquill and myself talked about this rather extensively in the After the Fact Spike speculation video, and I'd recommend each of you taking a look at that in order to better understand my main issue with this current episode. We've seen Spike go through this same shtick so many times in the series that it's really becoming distracting, and there weren't nearly enough entertaining elements in this episode to bring me back in. Honestly though, with a few tweaks, I think there really could have been. For a moment, it almost looked like the writers were actually setting up an incredibly funny situation.
Does something need scheduling?
Yeah. 2 delegates have speeches booked in the same hall. What do I do?
Okay, no problem. Just put the hay in the apple and eat the candle.
Huh?
Now, imagine that instead of Spike leaving Twilight to get her beauty sleep, he actually became so afraid of making decisions on his own that he pulls Twilight out of bed in her overly exhausted state and starts putting her in front of all these ponies to make the decisions. We could have had another Applebuck season situation, where Twilight's mental capacity is so far gone that all the disasters would still end up happening, but in a far more entertaining fashion. Spike could be doing his best to assist Twilight in vain, instead of just abusing a position of power and going through the same shtick he's done so many times before. Instead of a lesson about taking command without realizing the responsibility that comes with it, we could have had a lesson where Spike really did understand more than he thought he was capable of and could have done fairly well on his own for a few hours. I mean, doesn't that sound like a more interesting episode overall? You wouldn't have to change all that much to reach the same ending, and while it probably wouldn't have made a fantastic episode, it still would have been much more memorable than what we have here. Overall, I don't see much of a reason for me to go back and watch this episode again. I liked seeing all the princesses make another appearance, the background characters had more than a few funny moments, and that cliffhanger ending actually did get me to chuckle. But everything else just feels painfully average, which is a real shame because I still think there's possibilities for a great Spike episode if he got a chance to be at his absolute best, instead of focusing on his childish behavior yet again. But what do you think? Given all of Spike's previous episodes, do you believe that Princess Spike is showing us a new side to his character? Do you think I might have missed something significant about this episode? Would bringing Twilight back in her exhausted mental state have made the story more entertaining overall? Do you have any favorite standout moments? I would like to hear your thoughts on Princess Spike. And if you'd like some examples of Spike being at his best, check out some story ideas Silver and I came up with by clicking the link here in the video or in the description. I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.